morning, everybody. I'm Val Wolf. I'm an executive director at OHCOW, and I'm responsible for our workplace mental health, injury prevention, and migrant farm worker programs. Today, it is my pleasure to welcome you to our 9th Mayday Symposium on workplace mental health and injury prevention. Karen Cassidy is from CCOHS. Her career began as a health and safety manager, followed by a role as regulatory affairs manager for several years. She later transitioned into marketing, sales, and business development positions. As the director of business solutions, Karen leverages her diverse experience to oversee partnerships and collaborations, special projects, client services, and legislation services for CCOHS, upon which we all rely, those legislation services, never mind the other health and safety resources, and they are our long-term partners in our apps and in Stress Assess, which we built together with them and is hosted by them. So great to hear about this new tool and how in terms of health and safety management, and then the role of workplace mental health within that tool.
Thank you. Thanks, Val. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
You can. Okay, great. For those of you who may not know CCOHS, we were established by the Canadian Centre for Occupational Health and Safety Act, which was passed by unanimous vote in the Canadian Parliament in 1978. We promote the total well-being, physical, psychosocial, and mental health of working Canadians by providing information, training, education, management systems, and solutions that support health, safety, and wellness programs. A federal department corporation, you'll see the little Government of Canada banner at the top of our website. We are governed by a tripartite council representing government, employers, and labor to ensure a balanced approach to workplace health and safety issues. The tools and resources that we release are reviewed by representatives of those three parties. We offer a range of workplace health and safety information, tools, services, and resources to help organizations raise awareness, assess risks, implement prevention programs, and improve worker health, safety, and well-being. And our focus is to provide health and safety information using clear language so that it is easy to understand. We have a free person-to-person inquiry service where our staff of technical experts will research and respond to workplace health and safety questions. Our focus is Canada, obviously, but we get questions from all around the world. The screen that you're looking at right now is just the CCOHS website. For those of you who might be following along, it is ccohs.ca. And this is really just our home page. Obviously, the focus of today is psychological health and safety and mental health tools. And so I wanted to show a little bit of where you can find some of the tools. Some of them have been mentioned here today on the CCOHS website. When you scroll down, there's a tile that says mental health. This is our Healthy Minds at Work portal. And scrolling down further on the page, we have many free assessment tools, including Guarding Minds at Work, which was mentioned earlier by John. Obviously, the Stress Assess tool that we are very proud to have developed alongside with OHCOW, and we have worked on several other tools with OHCOW as well. A little bit about some of these tools. The Guarding Minds at Work, for those of you who may not know, it was built to help employers assess, protect, and provide psychological health and safety in their work, promote psychological health and safety in their workplaces. We've got a Psychologically Safe Leader, which is another one that was developed in partnership with Canada Life and Workplace Strategies for Mental Health. This one helps workplace leaders evaluate strategies and develop an action plan. The newest one is Psychologically Safe Teams, and this one, as it suggests, has a team's focus and is to help workplace leaders improve team cohesion, inclusion, and resilience. And we're working on another one that will be launched, I think, later this month. And of course, John has already talked about Stress Assess. We have a tool for healthcare workers and another one for the paramedic community, and then there are more here. For the business safety portal. This is a new tool that we have recently developed, and we launched it it was soft launched back in November and launched nationally at the very end of March 27th. Our intent with this one is we are aware that businesses, and in particular small businesses, often need help developing their health and safety programs. And there are many, many great tools from many different organizations, and including, the tools that we host on our site. And there are other organizations that also have tools and resources. And across the broad spectrum of occupational health and safety. But we're sort of hearing from people that sometimes they're unsure where to begin. And so we started to have a vision about creating a central portal that would pull the tools and resources together, but in a very focused and targeted way. And we had a vision whereby if we have a service where when people onboard to that service, they give us a little bit of information about their organization. They may tell us their industry, their workplace type, their workplace size, the demographics of their workforce a little bit, maybe a little bit about some chemicals or other hazards that they have in their workplace, and the key health and safety issues that they're facing. Then what we can do is deliver them within the portal, within their subscription, the resources that are very specific to those topics that are relevant to their workplace. And so from that, the Business Safety Portal was born. The subscription that I'm logged into here today it's a demo account. So you'll see when I click through to e-learning that it actually doesn't go anywhere because it's a demo account. And it is evolving in that the suite of mental health resources has not yet been added, but I was mentioning to Val that it will be there by the end of this month. We're just working on the final design. But really, when a workplace signs up for the Business Safety Portal, they answer questions on an intake form. And it's a very short form. We decided that we didn't want it too long because we didn't want it to be a barrier to them creating an account. And we know that especially small businesses are very busy, and we didn't want to add one more thing and just make it something that they say, oh, I'm going to park that and do it later. We wanted them to do it right away. So basically we ask them, we find out what type of industry they are in, where they do business, what type of workplace, and they can choose multiple, some of them may have an office and a manufacturing site, and maybe they have a warehouse as well, so they can choose those. They tell us about their health and safety concerns, the number of employees, where they operate their business, and do they employ any temporary or international guest workers? Do they have young workers? And this one is Ontario, so we asked them, do they have any of the following designated substances? And once they enter that and they log into the business portal for the first time, the information that they will see, a lot of it will be tailored to what they've told us in their intake form. Now, before I go any further, I want to mention that the Business Safety Portal is a for-fee service. However, in Ontario, and we're currently having conversations across the country, and we hope that more jurisdictions will come on board. But in Ontario, if you are a WSIB registered business, you actually get a subscription to the Business Safety Portal for free. You just need to log into the WSIB online services, and there you'll see a link that will bring you back through to us and lets you bypass the e-commerce or the purchase section. If you're not in Ontario and you are interested in purchasing the Business Safety Portal, it is a reasonable cost, and you can access it on our website by choosing I am looking for Business Safety Portal, and then you can just scroll down to the bottom, and that's where it can be purchased. But back into the portal here. So this particular demo account is one that is in Ontario. It is a company that has identified as being a manufacturing facility, and it is WSIB registered. So you'll see that there's a couple of WSIB specific banners that wouldn't necessarily appear for everyone. So right now, WSIB is talking to their subscribers about a prize that they can win and reminding them about some rebates through the Health and Safety Excellence Program. Once they log in and they get past sort of the area where there's some announcements, down here is where we get into the meat of it, where we talk about tools, resources, links, topics, those types of things. So here, the safety and industry link. These are pre-populated with the appropriate health and safety association within the jurisdiction. It's also pre-populated with CCOHS, but then they can go out, they can click here and go out, and they can start favoriting more organizations. And once we do that, and we click back to the home page, this is now updated and more links are added. So we're really trying to make it so that everything is as focused as possible, as clean as possible, and easy to find for workplaces. People who log in can go out of the site. They can go out to the CCOHS website. You'll see down here, there's a little banner saying return to portal, add page to saved links. They can do that throughout the site. Now that I'm on this page, I might as well talk about our new workplace mental health toolkit, which will be added to the portal very soon, but it is also free on our site. And I want to be clear that any of you who are looking for these tools, you don't have to purchase a subscription to the Business Safety Portal. I'm letting you know about that because it is a new offering of CCOHS, and because it is, for those of you who are in Ontario and registered with WSIB, it is free for you. But the tools that we're talking about today, the Guarding Minds, the Stress Assess, Psychologically Safe Leaders, Psychologically Safe Teams, and our Workplace Mental Health Toolkit are all available for free on our main CCOHS website as well. So I'm not here to drum up business, if you will, for the Business Safety Portal. I'm just letting you know about the benefits of it and how then that you can also access those tools. The Workplace Mental Health Toolkit, this was born out of a series of webinars that we did, I believe, last year, where we were talking about a lot of these assessment tools. And, you know, John mentioned earlier in his presentation about, well, the assessment tools, and John, if I'm misquoting you, please correct me, but I think, you know, he had said that you can use a really great assessment tool, but not do anything with it and not have a great program, or you can have a great program without using an assessment tool at all. So we did recognize that people, while the assessment tools often will provide tips and elements for developing an action plan once you've completed the assessment, there are still people still sort of sit back and go, I'm not really sure how to get going on this. And so the Workplace Mental Health Toolkit is meant to be more about practical advice for implementing the health and safety programs after you've completed the assessment tools. And so it has a series of short educational videos, and then again, links back to all of our resources. And once again, all of this is available free on our website. I'm going to go back to the Business Safety Portal for a second, just again to give you a very quick overview of what's included should you choose to access it through your WSIB account. We have the safety and industry links. We have the topics. These, again, can be customized. We can click out here and we have the favorite ones that appear on the home page, but we have all others. Again, we're just trying to really focus the information and make it very specific to the particular workplace. We also have tools that we host or we have co-developed with someone else, and we will be adding additional tools from the various health and safety associations across the country. One of the parts of my role is to reach out to them and talk to them about what tools would they like us to add. We're not looking to bring their tools in necessarily. We're looking to link back to the health and safety associations. We're not here to replace any of those. We want the users of the portal to get the information they need in a really clean and organized way, and then be able to link back to those providers. So for example, we've got the IHSA Construction Safety app here. If I click it, it's going to take me right out to the app. And then we have the Silica control tool, which is, again, something that we are very proud to have worked, been a very small part of with OHCOW on this particular tool. Further down, we have the health and safety essentials. This is where we walk businesses through the elements of a health and safety program, the basic essentials that they would need to know. As we click out here, we have links to resources. We also have fillable tools and templates. And on that, once someone accesses a tool or a fillable template, they can then upload it back into the portal if they wish. And we keep it in, we provide the users with a filing cabinet where they can upload their own documents. And the reason for this is twofold. Again, mostly with small businesses in mind, but we do find that we have very large organizations who have signed up for the portal as well. But really, one, it keeps everything in one place. So if they did happen to have an inspection or they were working their way through their program, it keeps everything. It keeps the files alongside the resources that are being provided. And the second one is that for small businesses, they typically don't have an intranet. So this way they can add users to their account and they can share these various documents with their users. They can edit the permissions with the people they're sharing. I'm jumping around a little bit, but I want to go up here and just show you that you can manage users, you can add users and get the status of where they're at. Further down here under the resources, you can see the spaces where the mental health tools will reside. Again, they are all available free on the CCOHS website. And then at the very bottom, we include sort of the regulatory and departments responsible for regulation or for workers' compensation within the jurisdiction. If during onboarding a business tells us that they operate in multiple jurisdictions, we will pull in all of the relevant departments here. Similarly, the safety and industry links, this will change depending on where a business says they are located, and which industry they are part of. And so I think that's really the overview of the business safety portal. And I know I jumped back and forth a little bit, but again, a lot of the assessment tools that we're talking about today are available for free on our CCOHS website. Any questions?
Great. Thanks a lot, Karen. It's a lot, and I applaud CCOHS for the breadth and depth of the workplace mental health content, and walking with us for almost 10 years in getting ready and in the stress assess and the work you've done with Guarding Minds and all these other resources that you've put together in support of that, and the integration in the business portal. I did put a link to the portal in the chat.
Oh, great. Thank you.
But I didn't, but if there's some of the workplace mental health resources link you want to put in there, that would be great. We do have time. I think the speakers can stay a little bit if people have questions. And in fact, I saw some hands up, which I'm sorry I didn't look for earlier, but please, I would like everybody to pause and do this little 3-question Slido that we have to collect data for the Ministry of Labor Training, Immigration, Labor and Training and Skills Development as part of our funding agreement. So we would really like to hear if you learned something, if you will share it with a colleague or friend, and if it was satisfactory. So we really appreciate everyone's time and attendance. I'm going to I don't see any other questions, but I was going to, I don't know if we want to turn on the mics. I see Ghislaine and Anne both had their hands up, and I don't know if you actually have questions for any of the speakers, or if anybody has any that come to mind now. And disappeared, I guess, so I don't, she just took her hand down. Okay. I don't see, oh, Ghislaine, do you have a question? It's not. Maybe that was an accidental hand. And thanks for all those links, Karen.
Sorry, it feels like I'm spamming everybody a little bit.
No, and people can. I think there's a place to go and download the chat, but we will also. Well, you were going to maybe paste it into a document that we like a PDF,
I will.
and we'll just upload it. It will be at the Mayday website, which I guess I should also remind people that this is the first. Oh yes, everyone can manually unmute themselves now. We've turned off the muting control. If anyone else has a question, this is the first of 5, so so there will be sessions for the next 4 Thursdays, and we hope that you can come back. And as we share next week, we're talking about workplace experiences from some workplace representatives, one a wellness coordinator, one a union advocate, and then John sharing 15 years of wisdom about workplace experience, not always success, but what you learn even when it's not a traditional success. And then we're talking about the assessment of assessments in the week 3. We're talking about research, and as I said in the chat, 2 of the presentations are around suicide and the connection of poor psychosocial factors, workplace factors, and their potential impact on health and on suicide. And then the last session on the 29th will be a cross Canada conversation with someone from Quebec coming, someone from BC, and hopefully someone from Manitoba as well, and many people from Ontario, hopefully, that we can share. So I just saw a hand up. Let me go back to my participant panel. Michelle, did you have a question or a comment?
Yeah, sorry, just like reading and listening to all of this, I noticed that, you know, and seeing the links, there's stuff for like certain sectors. But I work in the education sector, and man, is it hard to figure out all of this stuff. You know, even with like a lot of the health and safety stuff, you know, that we try to follow public health advice, but then the employer says, no, that's for a childcare setting. You know, when we've had people put in work refusals for something that might be okay in a hospital, it's not okay because it's not a school, and there's nothing specific. And like, are there any specific education resources to find? Or do you know if there's any sort of, I know the NDP was trying to do a specific education sector for the OHSA, but I don't know. I'm just wondering if you know of anything specific for education sectors, or how we can use the information that you've given us for our sector.
Good question, and a sector with a lot of workplace stress from so many different factors nowadays. And I think you even referred to like work refusal related to infectious disease. That's an issue we know, but a PSHSA has a number of resources, particularly around workplace violence, that originated from the education sector and have been sort of broadened for public sector in general, and even more generalized. I don't know if you wanted to answer anything around that, Maddie. And then John, you've worked extensively with education unions. I don't know if you have any other things to add. Maddie, you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Sorry, I clicked the mute on this guy. Yes, Michelle, I think it's probably worth like maybe connecting actually to talk more about the education sector specifically. But yes, we have a ton of stuff for violence, and I've even done a scan of like what is available for the education sector outside of PSHSA's resources. And from what I can tell, most of it is for the students. And I think the education sector is undergoing a really big, trying to undergo a really big culture shift towards building a more psychologically safe workplace. And we have a special focus and place in our heart for the education sector from that perspective. and we would really like to connect and like learn more about what specific issues are like you're having challenges with, so that we can better tailor our resources for the education sector. Right now, we're such a new team, only 2 years. So we're just building things for our sectors specifically. So right now we're just general, but we are looking to make them more tailored. So please reach out. I'll put my email in the chat again.
And I was going to say, I'm currently messaging you directly.
Oh.
I'm a newish local union president, so
Okay.
trying to find all this information
I know.
out. So
Yep.
that's awesome. So I'll send you all my information too.
Awesome.
Great.
Yeah, thank you. That's awesome. Thanks.
That's for the question, Michelle. John, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, one of the presentations next week will be from the education sector. It'll be their experience of doing a psychosocial assessment. And we've been doing quite a few surveys in school boards, especially working with the unions. So yeah, stick around for the presentation next week, and you can hear some of the experiences of other people who have used the survey.
That's awesome. And if you need a local union to do any sort of research or case studies on, I can tell you now that I have 3,300 members that will jump at any opportunity. So you feel free to use us. And we're in York Region, if that helps.
Okay.
Great. Well, just email us at John or at OHCOW at ask@ochow.on.ca, and we'll be in touch to be able to supply support to your local or your and your board. There were
And just to clarify, we don't collect information from workplaces for our research purposes. We collect the information to help you set your agenda on how to make your workplace more psychologically health and safety place.
Oh gosh, thank you. I feel like I'm going to cry tears of joy right now. Thank you.
okay, Lisa, you had a question?
Hi, yes, thanks. Just piggybacking, I guess, a bit on Michelle's comments. So for PSHSA, I'm aware that our school board uses your for the occupational health and safety training for the joint health and safety committees. And I think, you know, being in this role in health and safety and also supporting our members through WSIB and also non-OC, which by the way, probably are mostly supposed to be WSIB, but that's just such a hard issue, you know, to deal with when you're not mentally strong. If I could say, I would really like to see more joint health and safety committee or multi-joint health and safety committee. I know John mentioned about, I think it was him mentioning about it, but more like the training there to talk more about the psychological and the psychosocial hazards. Because what I'm finding is that's where the decisions are made for staff. I'm in education, and that's where the decisions are made for staff safety, because there's such a huge on student safety, which it should be, right? Like but then there's this little committee that will decide on staff safety, and there's so many things. Well, we can't do that because of this. Well, we can't do that because of this. So, you know, I'm finding that the worker members of the joint health and safety committees have a lot of knowledge and are really seeking how do we help, and perhaps management, because they, not all of them, but they have just like lots on their plates. Perhaps they're not as schooled in health and safety. They kind of rely on perhaps the board's own health and safety department to kind of guide the management. If you know what I'm saying. I'm just really trying to be politically correct, because I don't want to throw people under the bus. This is going to need to be a collaborative effort, but we're going to need some people to realize that this is an issue. I represent educational assistants and child and youth workers. So when you talk about people that don't have a voice, that don't have a say, that are compounded with, you know, there's a shortage of staff. So guess what? You're going to have to work with 2 or 3 or 4 more. And then at what point do we get to say that's too much? And then they just say, well, that's what you have to do because who else is going to do it? So it's just like, it's just going on, and it's got to stop, and we need to address it, because schools are a representation of the community is a representation of the region, you know, so on and so on. So there is an issue. And so I really appreciate, I'm looking forward then next week to hear that talk, and I'll get off my soapbox now, but I really appreciate everything.
Thanks a lot, Lisa. I don't know if anybody, and I think Joint Health and Safety Committee, you know, sort of education and training and comfort. I mean, they're really hard issues. And as you say, they veer, of course, a lot into disability management and non-OC because people, you know, can't fight the fight with WSIB, or they don't have the, you know, the right diagnosis because they're too stressed or they can't get a doctor's appointment until August, or whatever. There's so many factors at play that make it super difficult, I can see. So I don't know if anybody, we don't actually do training. The Workers' Health and Safety Center is our partner worker-focused organization, and they do have workplace mental health education, but I don't know if, and then PSHSA does Joint Health and Safety Committee and supervisor training and other, I guess. I don't know if you want to talk about any of that, but I think that recognizing it's not the empowerment, it's the capacity building for Joint Health and Safety Committee members, but how complex the workplace is and how much capacity building they have to do and continue to have to do while still they're all have a day job, right? They don't have release time or relief time necessarily. So yeah, and of course we'd like everybody to have that education, not just the people who are the worker activists who have put their name forward to be Joint Health and Safety Committee members. I don't know if anybody has any other comments. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for I appreciate your soapbox very much. And not in a good way, in a I agree way. Right now, from my vantage point anyway, I don't work a lot with the education sector, but so by no means am I an expert. I work mostly with healthcare, but I circulate the education sector a little bit, and it looks like the focus is really on workplace violence right now, because it lives inside the Act really clearly. And so from a training perspective for committees, probably the focus is going to live more there just because of the limitations with the Act. And this is where, like, kind of circling back to John's presentation, there's limitations within our current legislation, and our trainings have to comply with what is our current legislation. And that is super frustrating for us, because we, of course, want to do more. So that being said, we do more outside of that specific training. And we've actually just created, this is like really timely, we've just kind of solidified a curriculum for psychological health and safety for joint health and safety committees. But it's like a workshop, kind of an in-person. We can do it virtually as well, but it lives outside of that standard joint health and safety committee training. So if that's of interest, you can definitely reach out. My email's somewhere in the chat somewhere. You can reach out and I can give you more information. It's brand new. We have kind of piloted it a few times, not yet in education sector though. So we would definitely be looking for feedback from that perspective. And then, yeah, kind of capacity building as well. Like what can a joint health and safety committee do as it relates to psychological health and safety? You don't want to give them too much and you don't want to give them too little. If you give them too much, that can be harmful even for them. And so there's this kind of like careful balance that we need to consider. But anyways, that's my soapbox, I guess. So I'll step off of my little soapbox, and yeah, reach out if you have more information. Sorry, if you want more information on that little workshop that we've created.
Great, thanks. Did anybody else want to add anything else?
Yeah, if I can just pipe in. Lisa, you bring up a good point about the different levels. And when we do our surveys, we break them down by the different levels. There are some things that are unique to a particular occupation. We just did an interesting survey where we compared the experience of violence by EAs, educational assistants, versus child and youth workers. And we found that the child and youth workers had more exposure to violence, yet they didn't have as much symptoms related to the exposure. And that was because in their training, they expect, that's the work that they do, they expect it, and they've been trained on how to manage their boundaries and things like that. So it's, and then when we looked at the EAs, we were thinking, well, if you can do it for child and youth workers, can that type of training also be applied to EAs? So there are things that can be done within disciplinary fields, but there's also the issue of respect, especially for EAs, are not respected by the other
Professions.
occupations in often, and things like that. So yeah, there's a whole web of things. Some things can be done at a local level. Some are specific to a particular school. Some are specific to a particular job classification, and some are particular to the way the board manages its money, and then some are related to the way the province funds the boards. So yes, there are many different levels. You want to respond, Lisa?
Yeah, I appreciate your comment pretty much about professional development. Agree with that. I'm glitchy here, my video. Sorry about that. Shut it off. That is one thing that we have been pushing for here, is some more training with regard to, we're going to say self-care, but I'm telling you right now, EAs are tired of hearing about self-care, so let's call it something else. But building that resilience, building the capacity, and building your voice to say, no, this is beyond what I can do. Because as caregivers, that's the biggest hazard we face, is
Oops. I think we lost her. Oh no, you're there, Lisa. Lisa, we're not hearing you. Okay. Let me just check the chat to see if there are any other questions. And oh, Karen, did you have anything you wanted to add around joint health and safety training for workplace mental health issues, or anything else?
I took a quick look at our library. I don't see a course specific to mental health training for Joint Health and Safety Committee members. We do have mental health training courses, and we have training courses for Joint Health and Safety Committees as well. I also did note in the chat that I think WSPF's also put a link to their training, which seems to be specific to that.
Yep, that's good.
I responded to another question that was in the chat just about the business safety portal, saying, why is it just for small businesses? It's not just for small businesses, it's for all businesses. But yes, public sector does have some unique needs, and we are looking at that.
Great, thanks. I don't see any other questions or any other hands up, I don't think. So maybe I would ask each of you if you have any final comments on our sort of general theme of the integration of workplace mental health into occupational health and safety, into mainstream, I guess, occupational health and safety, and related to what we've talked about here in broader terms. So John, do you want to go first?
Sorry, I was answering Michelle's
Oh,
Campbell.
I was
She-
just, yeah, final comments around the theme of the integration of workplace mental health into occupational health and safety.
Yeah, it's been a struggle. You know, if you look at the legislation, the compensation boards have to be taken, you know, to higher courts in order to force them to do it. It would be really nice if in some of the health and safety acts have don't make a distinction between physical and mental health. It would be nice for those provinces, especially Ontario, to do likewise, and then to carry that through in their compensation. So if you want to do one big thing to promote mental health in the workplace, it would be to recognize it and not discriminate between physical and mental health.
That's good. Okay, Maddie, do you want to add anything else?
Oh, I can't follow John. That was so great. You summed it up so nicely. No, bravo.
Well,
It was really great. Yeah, reach out, connect. Like the more work that we do as an association to help our sectors, the more work that we prove to our partners, like the ministry, like WSIB, like the people who have power of making change, the more samples, more case studies that we can show them, I think that will help move the needle a little bit towards changes in legislation. So we just need to keep moving forward.
so I was going to ask, well, I guess we can ask all the comments. So, but how do we influence that? We've been trying to influence it already for 15 years, right? So, but how do we, like that dramatic, even Martin Shane's work, which is now 10 years old on the cost, is not well understood, or even if it is well understood, we're not, sorry, understood, not well understood. Maybe there's a pun there with the word well too, since it's the wellness seems to be the only solution. But that there isn't recognition of the sheer negative impact of these workplace factors on people's psychological well-being, which affects them physically and mentally, and which affects the work, and which costs a mint. We all know it's costing a mint, not just in disability management, but in the impact on work in the workplace. But how that connection is still so poorly understood, at least in North America, I guess. But anyways, I don't know if you had anything else to add on that, either of you, John or Maddie, and then we'll go to Karen for her last comments. We'll just keep plugging away, and this is share this event, share the share the links, share the video, and keep the conversation going. And even the last session that we're doing on the 29th will include discussing Quebec, which is further ahead than anyone else in the country with the legislation in terms of using, surveys and having to demonstrate that you're doing something with the results. But even then, I'm sure it's baby steps in terms of the implementation. So, but it will be interesting to hear how that's going from the speaker. And then also there's legislation proposed in Manitoba, and also much more attention happening in BC. So that hopefully maybe we'll be more inspired by the end of the month than today. Karen, did you have anything else you wanted to say?
Well, I'm just really going to echo what everybody else has said. And I think that's just what I was going to say as well. Val, we really need to keep talking about it. I mean, it's an enormous topic, and it's not clear cut. So it's difficult for health and safety managers, committees, representatives, it's difficult for everybody to sort of wrap their heads around. We do get a lot of questions about it through our inquiry service. The tools that we host, we get a lot of questions from people who have used the tools on how to implement it and sort of maybe some more elements. So those are constantly evolving. But it's such a critical part of the prevention program. So we do have to keep talking about it and just make sure it's always part of the conversation.
Mm-hmm. Great, thanks. I would ask everybody to click on the bottom of their screen and do the Slido if you haven't done it yet. Since I heard we only had 68 responses, even though we had 150 people here earlier. But anyways, anyone who still hasn't done it, we do appreciate you answering. So which can inform us about future planning and as I said, we have to report quarterly to the ministry about impact. So, and then I would just like to say thanks to the three speakers, John and Maddie and Karen. Thanks to all of you for taking the time in very busy times to come and learn and discuss and hopefully discuss further when you leave. And of course, thanks to Tony for his support today with the webinar, and thanks to Lisa, our communications coordinator, who will be the one uploading the documents and editing the videos into a playlist so you can share individual talks, as well as the whole thing will be available right away on our YouTube channel, but then we'll also create a playlist if you want to share them individually. So thanks again, and we'll see everybody next week.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Val and John and the whole team at OHCOW. Thank you.
Take care. Thank you.
Yeah, bye-bye. And happy Mayday, I guess we should.
Happy Mayday.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, everybody. I think, Tony, you want to turn it off?